If you are planning to buy a home, right? So you will go to a platform like Private Property or Property 24, and then you will look for a home that meets your need. But in that process, you'll find that different areas are different properties have different prices, right? So you might be asking yourself, what determines the prices of a specific house? Or even if you are a home seller and you are planning to sell your house, so you might be asking yourself, how much will be the value of the price of your house? This is what we're going to break down today. We're going to break down the factors that affect the property value. Right? But before we come to that, as you know, in this channel, we talk all things real estate, all things personal finance, so that you are the driver of financial life, not just the passenger. All right? So let's get to it, shall we? So what is the first factor that influence and affect the property value? Because there's different factors that are at play here to affect the price of your home. Right? So the first thing is location. I cannot emphasize that enough, because the location really determines what price you will be able to sell your home for, or you will be able to find your dream house for. Right? Because in your location, you need to see if there's nearby attractions in that area, right? The proximity to schools, for example, the proximity to business centers, to malls, and the price of the other properties within that area. So that will play a role to influence how much the price or the value of your property is. Say, for example, you can build a 5-bedroom house, right, in a place like Soshanguve or Harankua. For that same house, for the fact that it is in that area, and if you just build this very same house in Pretoria East, for example, you'll find out the prices will vary dramatically because of location. The second factor that affects the property value is the age of the home, right? So as you know, newer homes will mean that they have, in most cases, not always, because some homes that are built by developers that don't know what they're doing, they fall apart, even if they are brand new houses. So I'm not going to say most, I'm not going to say all of them, but I'm going to say most of them, right? So most of the newer houses which you buy from a new development, for example, will have very little maintenance, right? So that's one of the things that affect the price. And if it's a new home, for example, it in most cases will have the more modern technology or will be technologically friendly. That's one of the consideration. But it doesn't mean that the old homes don't have a good property value. They do, because in most cases you find that also they have much more space than these new development areas. So if you can find a good old home in a good area or location, you fix it up, you increase so much the value of that property. So it works also both ways, right? The third factor is the size of the home, right? So a size of a home is measured in square meters, right? So the consideration here is the utilization of space, right? So the question that is very much important is the space, right, distributed throughout the house? And for example, what it means is that how much of that space is actually livable. So that also plays a role into determining the property value. So another factor which is very, very much important is the condition of the home, right? So there are factors like the state of the finishes in that home. Is it like those old old design finishes and all that, or is it modern? So these also have a factor in influencing the property value, right? Is there cracks on the wall, or is there any structural issues? Because if there's any structural issues or there's so much cracks, then it means that will decrease the property value of that price, right? But if there is no such things, then the property value will be much better. So other things to consider in the condition of the home is things like flooring finishes, things like the condition of the garden. So if the condition of either these things is a mess, then it means the price of the property value will be much lower, and this is what you need to be understanding, right? Either a home buyer or either a home seller, right? The fifth factor that influences the property value is renovation and renovation potential. What do I mean by that? So you need to be focusing on renovations that boost value, right? Because I get to a lot of homes trying to assist them to sell their property, and they tell me about whatever they've done. And when I look at it, I see all those things do not really improve the property value. So it is very much important that before you make all the renovations that you can make, I think you need to get especially if you want to sell in a short space of time, you need to talk to a professional, a property expert that will guide you which renovations are gonna boost your property value. Because if you just renovate anyhow and you just expect to get that money, you're not gonna get that money. You would have overcapitalized. Right? So you need to focus on renovations that matter, right? So in most cases, the kitchens and the bathroom will add some value in your property value. But the most important thing is to understand what is the current market in that area. So, for example, if in a certain area, right? Or let me make an example with an area that I work here in Endion, Pretoria West, right? Most houses in that area are 3-bedroom houses. So in that area, because there's 3-bedroom houses, if you have a 2-bedroom house and you add that additional 1-bedroom, so what happened is that you dramatically increase the property value of the property value, right? By just adding that additional bedroom, right? But let's say in the same market, which is dominated by the 3-bedroom houses, you put a 6-bedroom house, right? So that is not going to benefit you in anyhow, because we will come to this, right? That the property value of the surrounding houses, right, will ensure that your property does not grow, because it does not really have anything to compare with. So there's something that is called a CMA. Your house must be comparable in that market in order to have a realistic market value. Otherwise, you would have capitalized and you lose. That's not what we want. That's why we're doing this video, right? So it is very much important that you understand. So still, when we're talking about the renovations and the renovation potential, we must consider also how close is this house to other buildings, right? Because if it's too close to other buildings, then there's no opportunity to extend. So that also affects that property value. To say you cannot really have any room to expand, to extend, or to do anything. It means you must be restricted in that small little space. So that affects your property value, right? So The next big thing is the state of the market, right? So there's what we call a buyer's market and there's what we call a seller's market. So I have made 2 videos explaining what is a buyer's market, what is a seller's market. I'll put the link on the description below so that you have a clear understanding of what is a buyer's market and what is a seller's market, right? So if you are enjoying this video, yes, man, hit that like button, subscribe if you have not subscribed. Thank you to all those people that have subscribed, and thank you for keeping on supporting me with your views. And if there's anything that you want to add on what I'm saying, you can also just add your comment below. I will come back to you. If you have a question, I will answer your question. If you are adding something, I will really appreciate it. I will also want to learn from you. So as I was saying, there's a buyer's market and there's a seller's market, right? So there's a full video that you can follow on that. As I already said, it will be on the description. So basically, in short term, a seller's market is when the house prices are rising, right? So it means at that point, there's really a few houses in the market, right? But if we are talking about a buyer's market, it means the house prices decline, meaning that there's a lot of houses in the market, right? As of 2023 in South Africa, right, it is currently a buyer's market because, as we can see right now, the home values are actually maybe a bit declining, right? And they're likely to grow less than inflation because there's a lot of issues that are influencing this. There's a whole lot of load shedding, whole hikes of interest rate, water shortages, and all this kind of stuff. So this also plays a role in influencing how the market reacts, right? The 7th thing is interest rate. I'm sure people are very much familiar with this one because, I mean, in the last year or two, there's been consecutive interest rate hikes. I think there's been like 10 consecutive one, which adds up to 475 basis point, which is a lot, right? It makes a whole different, right? So what you need to know here is that the South African Reserve Bank set what is called a repo rate, right? A repo rate is what the banks is the interest that the normal banks are charged by the Reserve Bank, right? And then the banks then charges us what we call the prime lending rate or interest rate, basically, when we borrow money, right? So high interest rate means that the demand on the housing market will be reduced, right? Because the cost of borrowing at that time will be much more expensive because your interest rate determines your installment, right? And then if the interest rate are lower, like they were just immediately after COVID, it means the demand will be increased because the cost of borrowing is much lower, right? So the prediction right now on the interest rate is that just this last month, we have seen that the South African Reserve Bank have left the repo rate unchanged, right? So the prediction is that we have actually now reached the peak of the interest rate hikes, and we are likely not to see any other hikes, but in the future we will see declines on interest rate, which will stimulate now the demand in the housing market, which is very good, right? Another factor which affects the property value is the sales trend, right? The sales trend. So it is very much important for you to understand that your property value is also determined by your surrounding houses. What are the houses that are around you are selling for, right? Especially the similar ones in terms of the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, the number of square meters, garages, and all those kind of stuff. So like I've made a comparison before, like if you build a mansion in Soshanguve or in Harankua, right? And then you compare that same mansion and you build it in Pretoria East, you'll find out the price is totally different, and it will surprise you. But it is really based on just the area. As I said on point number 1, you can just go back to that one if you didn't really fully understand of what is the importance of location, and location. Right? Point number 9, which is the last but not the least, is the political situation. So there's a lot of political situation that might influence the property values, which affect everything. So political uncertainty in a certain area will affect the property value as well, because it influences whether people are coming out of the area or they're going into the area. So that will also influence the property value. So I've explained in detail the factors that are influencing the property value, right? So if you are wondering in terms of your property value, how much is it? Please do contact a real estate professional or a real estate agent, because it's always best to go to a professional who knows and who has enough experience to provide you with what is called a CMA, a comparative market analysis, right? So that you have a full understanding of what's happening in your market. Right? It is very much important, because also this professional will advise you in terms of selling your property, if you should actually sell above market price, sell below market price, or if you are selling below or above, at what margin should you do it? Because this information is just at the tips of these professionals. So use them. Find a professional in your area that is trustable, that you can trust to assist you. As you know, this is the big elephant, Ndokuria Manenge. I'm glad you have watched until so far, and thank you very much. I will see you in the next one. This is the time where I, Mike,